Hello, I am Natalie Kunsman, MD, and today you are going to learn 5 ways to prevent Alzheimer's disease. Now, Alzheimer's disease is one of those dementias that has some hallmark characteristics of plaques and tangles in the brain that we will see on autopsy. And those plaques and tangles are made up of beta amyloid protein buildup, and it will lead to clinical symptoms with obvious cognitive decline. And what I usually like to say, that a lot of departments in the brain are faulty, such that movement becomes impaired, the mood becomes impaired, a lot of the judgment becomes impaired, and it will progress to the point upon death. Now, one of the few medications out on the market, or I should say out of the few medications out on the market, there still is not one that does any better than the preventive tactics, which we are going to discuss. So, what are those 5 ways that we are going to learn to prevent Alzheimer's now? The very first is to improve your sleep and improve your sleep architecture in any way you can. So this beta amyloid plaque buildup is actually a byproduct of some cellular debris in the neurons that happen on a daily basis. And there are also delta waves that will go down with age. And delta waves are those delta waves that we need to ease us into sleep. So particularly where these beta amyloid plaques are concerned, at nighttime is when those proteins are released into the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system is the garbage collector that will actually take this cellular debris from the cells, flush it, dump it away, put it into the lymphatic system, and take it to as a waste station to remove waste from the bloodstream. So the CSF at nighttime must do this procedure at nighttime. And if this cannot go on, and you will notice that being a poor sleeper makes you at high risk for Alzheimer's, those beta amyloid plaques cannot get flushed away. And there is some new information from the University of Colorado that are noticing that those neurons will change after sleep when that removal system happens, and the beta amyloid plaques will get flushed away. So we do have proof in studies. Now, what is another way that we can improve and prevent Alzheimer's? Well, a big one is changing over to a diet that has brain boosting foods. So we are talking about green vegetables, a lot of nuts, berries, fish, olive oils, wine, and we're also stating that we should be low or no grains. So ketogenic and no sugar has been proven to improve brain functioning. And so you know, diabetes, for instance, puts you at very high risk for getting Alzheimer's disease. Okay, next step, physical activity. Physical activity for the Alzheimer's patient and for our brain health is absolutely medicinal. So our research is showing that those beta amyloid plaques reduce when you are working out on a regular basis. It will also increase the gray matter, and it will prevent the shrinkage from the hippocampus. The hippocampus is that area in our brains that is necessary for our short-term learning. Now, exercise also promotes the neuroplasticity and repair and growth. So hear this out, growth of new growth factors for new neurons that are repaired. Now, strength training workouts is also thought to help those neurons, and in that regard, it's helping them by promoting a good hormonal response. So again, hormone health is also good for our brains, and we can get that through exercise. Yoga exercise seems to positively affect the brain, and that's by quieting the stress hormones and the cortisol effect, which is our biggest stress hormone. So, stress will actually shrink the hippocampus, and blocking that cortisol will help to build that hippocampus back, and it can be done with these exercise tactics. So, another strategy for prevention of Alzheimer's is brain games. This should be obvious, but it is also panning out in the research that keeping the brain active, especially if you are going after new learning, is particularly beneficial to the diseased brain, but also in prevention of Alzheimer's. So, I've also heard it said that Alzheimer's is a disorder of new learning, since the hippocampus is the first involved. So one way to go about these brain games is making a list of hobbies that you've always wanted to do. So you could start writing, you could start dancing, you could start in the arts. And the studies will recommend at least 1 hour total in the day for mentally stimulating activities. Now, this doesn't mean you can't retire. However, I will notice a lot of retirees will go from very busy, full, exciting, long days of a lot of mental stimulation to nothing. And when the brain goes from all of that to nothing, you will start seeing a quick decline in the short-term memory and some of the other areas that is affected by Alzheimer's. So you don't need to keep working, but you need to keep mentally stimulated. Now, the fifth way to prevent Alzheimer's is group activities. Community keeps us well. Group activities will also combat some of that loneliness that is associated with the patient suffering from the disease itself, or those caregivers that are trying to help the Alzheimer's patient. Sociability is as important as the activity itself. So things such as choirs, classes, activities that stimulate creativity, and back to yoga. We could consider yoga groups and spiritual groups such as churches. And also you can join groups that are journaling and writing. So there you have it. 5 easy preventive tactics that will need to become part of your daily routine, and it has excellent benefits in prevention of Alzheimer's disease. Again, I'm Natalie Kunsman, MD. Please subscribe to my channel below, and until we meet again, be well.